Alright, welcome to part 1 of this little eye and hair tutorial. Both have been the most requested items, and so we're going to do both as we finish up this character. I might do like a render at the end, but I'll be drawing in her eyes and the rest of her hair for sure. So let's get right in. So we have a light 3/4 view. I'm going to draw in some guiding lines. I don't always use guiding lines, but I should. For some reason, drawing eyes, I tend to sit and finick with the placement and shape of them for so long. I'm not even sure if it's necessary or what, but I do it every time. So we put in this kind of angled rectangle. So if you drew a line around the forehead shape, it kind of angles in here and then out towards the nose and down like so. So it's this slight angle of the rectangle there. Starting off close to the side edge there. Over here, I usually end up having to play with that placement, but it ends up being a little further this way towards that ear than you would think, at least for this kind of style. I started a new thing with this very recently. I'm going to see if it works. Doing these little triangles off the edge of where I want the tip of the lashes to go. I don't usually want them to be exactly the same, so they're not, they're not lined up the same as the rest of that. But, we're just going to kind of see how that works. I'm going to place a box to be the far eye. And then this one, so this one obviously between here and here and here and here, this one is larger because it's closer to us at this angle. And then I'll probably do a line low here at the bottom. That's going to be for the corner, the inside corner of the tear duct. I'll put it near that. I might not use these lines 100%, but it helps just to know roughly where you're placing things in relation to each other. That one might end up being like the lashes, but the lower edge of them or something. We're just going to use them as some guides. I've already done a few different eyes for this to see what I want to do. And I just finick with it so much. I was like, okay, we're just gonna make them. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in real good. I always start with, so I'm right-handed, so in this angle I'm starting with this eye over here so that I can always see it when I'm drawing the other one. So then let's start here. So I'm gonna do a little curve and then a curve out from that. Gonna go up this line here. I'm gonna mirror this bottom curve, making it a little bit farther apart at the top here. Curving it around. and connecting with that. At the top of that point, we're going to do a lash. And then coming from where this intersects here with our guideline, I'm going to come down, but I'm going to come at a slight angle that matches this angle of the face. And just bridge that lash with that little curve there. Just kind of makes it, I don't know, thick, if you will, like thickens it up. Okay, so at this angle, the lower this corner of your inner lash of the end of the upper lashes, that's a mouthful. On the other eye, it's going to be higher up. So we're going to come out with a curve, hit that guideline and come down. I'm going to do the other one here. And we're going to curve this down and out to the end of our triangle. And then on this edge, I'm just going to add a little bit of a lash, like a lash, I don't know. 2 little lashes that kind of snip that, like the end of a ribbon, you know, like that. And then if I actually want to end up putting my inner eye corner there at that intersection, we're going to put that there. So we're going to do that for both of these. And then generally you're going to have this angling towards that. Thicken that up. And, you know, obviously this is just one style of eye. I tend to do this kind of shape like so for Abigail. I've never been this kind of like organized and meticulous about it, which is probably why I always mess with it for so long before I feel like it's perfect. So here, just do these little curves for the bottom. I'm gonna have her looking, and we'll just have her looking at the viewer. Don't mind the background noises if you can hear that. We're doing the big old classic anime eyes here, big iris, and I'm connecting it really right where I put that little line there on that one. So on the other one, it's going to be just the left side. And then I'm going to connect this just to kind of, it helps your brain agree with it if you know, I have 2 sides to both now. So my brain's not like, what's going on with that other one? Hopefully you're not like that. So for the iris, I do this kind of broken up like bottom half circle. I put that in, but generally what I do is kind of use that to help guide where the eyes are looking, even though that's not how eyes work. I'm aware. It's how anime eyes work, though. So I'm going to lower it a little bit. Do the same on the other side. Okay. So now add some extra lash detail. We'll add a bottom lash on the corner there. Mirror that over here. I can tell now that this left eye, I'm going to want to kind of bring that around, and so that's not exactly working for me. So I'm going to erase that bottom ridge. Didn't like the shape that made that left eye seem a little squinty, so I'm just going to lower it a little bit. One thing I've been noticing lately with very anime style images that I like the way it looks is that the far eye is bigger, like wider, or I mean taller than the close eye, which is nonsense. I mean, truly, that's not how it would work unless you're intentionally making this eye more closed in and the other eye wider. And with animation, if you have your character, looking this way, you kind of want the face to open up towards their, the direction of intent, we'll call it. I don't know if that's a real saying or not, but that's an animation principle that I sometimes try to acknowledge. I'm going to do 2 little bottom lines there. I don't always do that. Okay, so now I'm going to fill these in to get a better sense of what I'm working with here. I'm going to put in Abby's eyebrows, which she's always angry. A trick that I don't use as much as I should, that I learned from an old Psychra video. If you don't know who Psychra is, he's definitely one of the best analytical drawing YouTubers ever. And in my mind, he's old school now. But his eyebrow trick was you starting at the corner of the lash there on the outside, you come up and around like that, and it just helps you kind of shape your eyebrows. Obviously I went pretty extreme with the curve there. Put this little curve in here on the inside to show that it's scrunching up her face because she's always angry. And now I've decided no, I didn't decide, it just happened. The eyelid fold is way too high up to make her this angry, which I always do that. I put in the eyelid fold before the eyebrow, and then I realize that it's getting obscured. Okay, so I'm still keeping with this opening of the face up. We're going to wait and see how it looks when I flip the image before we start fine-tuning. And that's really where it starts taking me forever. Alright, so we got our eyebrows in. Thicken up this outside lash on the far eye a bit. For this one, I'm going to add in some extra lashes for fun. So I just decide like this part wants a few and I just pull them out. Like so. On the far one, I'm going to see what it looks like to throw a lash in there. It's kind of nice. Might do the same over here. I don't like that. Okay. I've been seeing a lot of new styles of drawing lashes, and I really want to try them out, but I've decided I'm not going to sit here and experiment on video while I'm teaching you how I draw eyes. That's very hard for me. Okay, so I got them placed in. Let's do some, I don't know, we're going to call them vagaries over here. This kind of stuff, not fully defined lines and such helps trick your brain. The more you look at eyes and the more you stare at this stuff, the more your brain recognizes the faults. And so you have to do this kind of stuff to trick your brain to accepting the nonsense that you're claiming is truth. Okay, let's get rid of our guide. Honestly, they're looking really good, but we haven't flipped the image yet. I'm always scared to. One thing I'm going to do before I flip the image, the far eye looks a little too close. I'm just going to move it back very slightly. Alright, here we go. Here's a moment of truth. This is terrifying. I hate this part. I also draw and I lean a little left when I draw, so then when I flip it, I sit more straight on, and then I flip it, and it looks wonky. And, ugh. Okay, it actually went pretty well. Thank God. I take my hand, and I'm going to cover one eye, look at it, flip my hand and cover the other eye, and see which one I like more, the placement-wise. I think the far eye is better size and place, so I'm going to shrink the close eye a little bit and then move it up a little bit. Okay, beautiful. That went really well. To be honest with you, I was neglecting this video because I was so scared that that was going to go poorly. But it turns out, surprise, surprise, using guidelines helps immensely. What do you know? So I guess I recommend guidelines. For anything you're struggling with, go with guidelines. Otherwise, things that you're just good at, don't bother. It's boring. Alright, we're gonna color them in the same video here because the coloring is actually super easy. It's very quick. So on a layer under those eyes, I'm gonna take the skin color and make it very, very slightly brighter. I never use bright white for the whites of the eye. And I'm not going to tell you not to, because I've seen humans in real life with very white whites, and it looks really good. And I've seen drawings with very white whites, and it looks good. And I've seen the opposite. So, you know, I'm not going to say never use white. There's definitely styles where you can get away with it. So it's a little bit lighter. Abby's eyes are orange. So I'm going to take a little bit darker. Abby's orange eyes are also very saturated, so I'm keeping it very saturated. But then a little darker than I actually would want them to be, because I want them to kind of glow a bit. I like to do glowy eyes. Okay. Here's the fun part. I'm going to take this flat brush. This is a Procreate Basic brush. The original set, I think it's in painting. It's this flat brush in painting. I just moved it into here, so it was where I could access it. I'm going to go super dark, very saturated. With the orange specifically, I keep it very orange. With different eyes, I do different colors. Like if I have pink eyes, I like to throw in blues and purples. But we're going to go really dark. Dark orange becomes brown. And then I'm going to take a very small... This is basically like a marker. We're going to just layer up. Let's see. If we have our lantern here, I'm going to say that's our primary light source, even though it's not facing her. And then we'll have a secondary light source, because we always do. I'm going to make this brush a little smaller. So this area here, I want to leave light. And I'm going to change the direction. Oh boy, my alarm just went off. Ignore that. Change the direction of these strokes to match the light source. I'm gonna layer these up. Do the same on the other side. On the other side, I go into the iris cutout a little bit more aggressively. Okay, so now I'm going to take that orange. We're going to brighten it. I'm going to brighten it almost all the way. Basically doing the same little shapes as that iris, like so. Iris, pupil, not iris, pupil. I think I even called it, did I call it an iris earlier? Whatever. Okay, so that's kind of like the base. So now I'm going to have a little fun. We're going to do a little more of a yellow, glowy, light color there. So this is going to be some of the glow from the pumpkin. And I just kind of do like a little vertical, kind of messy layering with this flat brush. In Paint Tool Sai, I used to do the same thing, and I used I think it was just called the marker brush. And this is the thing I found closest to that. Build these up. Just for funsies. Well, let's see. I don't know how to do this. I'm trying to decide if I want to just go wild here or not. Because normally what I would do with eyes is then just take like really bright saturated other colors and throw in, you know, stuff like this. Just looks fun. It's good. It's good fun. Let's see, maybe like this. It's easy to overdo it, and it negates some atmosphere if you go too wild. This is almost white. Kind of a white cream. Okay, so now I'm gonna take, let's see, this says line art brush. I think it's basically the same as the technical pen. I think I started to mess with it and then ended up making the same brush, or not actually changing anything. So I'm going to take that orange, go brighter and a little less saturated. That's too thick. Make it really small. And do these these shapes. Eyes have these really cool shapes in them if you really look at the stuff going on. At least some eyes. Add in some of that. We're gonna do a little bit redder, so it becomes a little more brown, pretty dark. Same brush. Do something kind of similar up top here. And then on the edges, darkening up those edges with kind of a jagged little pokies there. Okay, so now I'm going to do a new layer. I'm going to put this on add. Pretty bright orange here. I'm going to go back to that flat brush. I'm going to make it bigger. Just do some strokes like that, kind of glow up that. And then I just drop that down so it's all on one layer again. Take the white of the eye, make it, noticeably darker, and then I don't always do the blue shadow. Generally white shadow is bluer. Obviously it depends, but it's pretty typical. This time I'm gonna do it. Just putting in some shadow on the white of the eye. It's not very intense. I don't know. I don't like to do super intense shadow on that. Sometimes I do, but now I'm gonna go to like a reddish, this color, like a deep salmon. Put in a little bit just for the tear duct there, tear duct area. That's not the tear duct, I'm aware. Okay, now on top of the black line layer, I'm gonna go back to my line art brush. This is the everything brush. I use this for line art now. My friend turned me onto it, and it's amazing. At first I wasn't sure, but then I was. That's it. So this says made by Casave. So if you look up the everything brush, Casave, it's a great brush. I think it was supposed to be a paint tool Sai. I don't know. Maybe I'm lying. Anyway. So I'm going to do on the bottom ridge of the lashes here. Because I got that bright orange. And I don't always do this either, but when I'm trying to do some fancy eyes, I throw it in. There's like some lashes are coming off and they're really catching that glow from the eyes. And then we're going to take white, pure white, and do little highlights that go over everything. Breaking the outer edge of your iris is very useful in showing that kind of wet shine of an eye. And then putting a little dot on the inner corner there. I don't always do all of these fancy things, but we're being fancy. Okay, so now we're going to go back underneath there. This is something we're going to do for this tutorial. This is not something that I do for Abby, but I do enjoy it and it looks really good. And I found a lot of pieces that I really like do it. We're actually going to see if it looks good on Abby. And that is putting in this very, very red, like, eyeliner. I usually do the eye rendering at the end when everything else is done, so it doesn't look quite so out of place. I don't know. I like it, but for Abby, I don't know. I didn't even realize I was changing everything. Okay, that's okay. So we're going to get rid of that. That's something to keep in mind for like final touches on the eyes. That looks really good. I'm not going to do it for Abby. And because there's so much going on, it helps to do that at the end of your piece when you kind of can see it all at once. But what I am going to do is go back to the black of the black line art layer. We're going to alpha lock. I'm going to keep that red, make it more red. Go back to that flat brush, make it a little bigger. This is another trick I've seen for so long, and it took me so long to finally start doing it. Just reddening the lashes themselves. You generally do the corners and the bottom. And this is truly just some stylized nonsense that I love it. It looks amazing. I'm going to long press on the blending brush to use that same brush and just blend out a little bit of that. It's a little intense. And again, that's possibly just because nothing else is rendered, so it's hard to justify. So maybe we will go back to this bottom layer and add just a little bit of blush, even though Abby's dead. One final thing we might do, which is fun to do, and we'll probably take the skin color, the base skin color, make this flat brush much smaller, right here around generally in this center area, but I usually keep it left of this main peak of lash here. Just do a little bit of this action. And that kind of like helps justify how much lash is going on. Your brain starts to see this part as like lash mixed with eyeshadow and more of a painted on makeup rather than somehow this person's lashes are this thick. Okay, so there's a way to do some eyes, and they're very noticeable, very popping. I'll probably might go back in at some point and change the color of these fancy bits. I don't like the green being in there for this image, but you know, the general principle is the same. It just creates kind of like a fancy eye look. All right, so that's eyes. That's a way of doing eyes. Again, I don't always do it the same way. I don't like to do things the same way. It really bores the crap out of me. So if you see me doing eyes differently, you know, go easy on me. But thank you for watching. Tune in next time. We're going to do the rest of her hair. She's going to have kind of like a long, flowing, ribbony ponytail going on to really get into some fun hair techniques. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'm gonna have to figure out a cool sign-off phrase, aren't I? That's it for now. Cool sign-off phrase. Bye-bye.